Wind, 3 knots, heading 274. Range, 95 meters. Projectile mass, 89 kilograms. Trust me.
I think I'm going to need some new underpants.
Copy that.
Those of you waiting for a reason to buy the game Titanfall 2, you have your reason. Right now it's 33% off on Origin. I took advantage of that myself, however I'm not here to shill for EA, I'm here to talk about Titanfall 2 and how it runs on the Radeon R9 270. Spoiler alert, it runs just fine. Thanks to the limitations of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and the fact that this game is just so well optimized, it runs quite well on the Radeon R9 270, especially when we stick to just about high settings at 1920 by 1080p. One also has to consider that this game is designed to run at 60 FPS on those consoles, and the gameplay itself benefits very highly from such a high frame rate. I will admit though, at 1080p and all high settings, the R9 270 cannot maintain a steady 60 FPS as long as we don't use the variable resolution option. However, the game still does feel fairly smooth and is perfectly playable at these settings. Now, if you demand consistent 60 FPS gameplay and are willing to sacrifice resolution some of the time, you can use the variable resolution capability that is built into this game and is also used in the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions. I will acknowledge that as interesting as that capability is, it is unfortunately not 100% effective. And in order to boost frame rate means muddying the image quite a bit, all the way down to 720p. Especially since this R9 270 is rarely hitting 60 FPS in the first place. Like I said, in general we can expect 50 to 55 and then sometimes 60 FPS depending on the situation and what's going on in the game. And at these frame rates, the game, like I said earlier, does feel consistently smooth and very much playable. The few rough parts in the campaign are not enough to make me want to lower the settings at all. But of course, being on the PC, we can customize the settings to increase performance if we really need it. As far as graphical assets go, it's the textures that really are the most important out of all the options that we can change in the graphical menu. Hence, I would implore that you never go below high settings when it comes to the textures. Going below that, you start to make the game look like an Xbox 360 title, and we certainly don't want that. I also highly recommend the use of TSAA, also known as temporal anti-aliasing, to take care of the jaggies on surface edges, which does, as far as I can tell, a much better job than 2x MSAA, which is also a little bit more of a burden on our GPU. As I mentioned earlier, I did try the adaptive resolution option in order to maintain a more steady frame rate. Adaptive resolution works by lowering the actual render resolution of the game, however it does not affect actual graphical assets, therefore graphical assets and too many effects on screen can still lower the frame rate well below the 60 FPS target. And at those moments we still have to live with the 720p image that sometimes happens. Therefore, I don't feel that adaptive resolution is acceptable in our situation. The guys at Respawn Entertainment, who used to be part of Infinity Ward, well actually they founded Infinity Ward, and of course the Call of Duty franchise, they've always had a good focus on PC optimization, and it shows in this game. Titanfall 2 isn't groundbreaking in graphics technology in the least. Where it's groundbreaking is the deliverance of such graphics at 60 FPS on relatively modest PC hardware as well as the consoles. It's the combined mastery of optimization, great texture work, and properly realized models that makes Titanfall 2 so visually appealing. It's almost as if Respawn worked their way up to their limits instead of starting way too strong and having to degrade their work. As someone who owns what can be considered a lower-end graphics card these days, I greatly appreciate Respawn's ability to deliver a great visual experience without having to force gamers to break their piggy banks. As much as we get a kick out of building new gaming rigs for specific games, crisis! It's also good to see your machine not struggle in running one of the newest titles out there, especially one with such a fantastically realized vision. With all these things said, I do want to give the Radeon 7750 a try with Titanfall 2, assuming the 1GB frame buffer does not present itself an issue. And with that said, I'm going to leave you all here, but not before recommending you all subscribe to my channel for more videos like you see here. My name is Blitz, y'all have a good night.
There is a 68% chance of success.
What about the other 32%?
there is a 32% chance of an incomplete traversal, resulting in catastrophic trauma, massive internal bleeding, and multiple compound fractures. Dismemberment may also occur. There is also the possibility of electrocution and disintegration within the toxic fog below.